So you may have heard as a parent about this mythical concept called an IEP, but many of you might not exactly know what needs to go into this or what it is at all. So if that's the case, today's video is for you. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, YouTube, thank you so much for coming back. My name is Eli. I am the lawyer guy, and today we are going to be talking about that esoteric concept called the IEP, or the Individualized Educational Program or Plan. Now, the IEP is a document that sets out exactly what special education services and supports, what goals, what accommodations and modifications your child is to receive from the school district. It is the blueprint, it is the backbone of special education services. It tells the school district and the parent and all teachers exactly what it is that your child is to receive. And it is your way of being able to hold the district accountable for the services and the service levels that your child needs in order to attain a free and appropriate public education. See last time's video. So the way we're going to approach this today is we're going to talk a little tiny bit about the meeting itself. I'm going to do a whole future video on how to prepare for IEP meetings and how to handle IEP meetings, because it's a topic that a lot of people really have questions about and want me to cover. So that'll be a separate video. We'll overlap a little bit today, but mostly today we'll be talking about the IEP document and what you need to be looking for specifically on that document and what standards the school district is held to in creating that document. So, like I said, the IEP is the Individualized Educational Program or Educational Plan. Both mean the same thing, and it is created by the Individuals with Disabilities in Education Act, or the IDEA, as the backbone of special education. Now, before we even get into the document itself, there are a couple of things that you need to know. Number one, an IEP meeting must be held at least once a year for the child to go over the document, make sure it's appropriate, and to gauge how much progress they've made. Before that meeting even happens, there's some things to take into account. Number one, that meeting must be held at a time and location that's mutually agreeable between the district and the parents. So they have to agree on that time and place. The district can't dictate to you one time, one day, one location, and on the other hand, the parent can't do that as well. It has to be an agreeable time and location. Number two, as I've stated in prior videos, we are going to make a written request for all assessment documentation to be provided to us at least 3 business days before that meeting, so that we're prepared to discuss any of our questions and concerns regarding that documentation at the meeting. Number 3, if you require a translator, the district is required to provide you with a translator, and it has to be a professional, serviceable translator. They can't just grab somebody out of the front office that translates a couple of words every 3 sentences to you. It has to be to where you are able to meaningfully participate in this IEP meeting. And number 4, if you would like to bring someone to the IEP meeting, if you feel like someone has information to share that's pertinent, or you want to bring a representative, you are allowed to do so. You just have to notify the district in advance of who you'll be bringing to the meeting. Along that same vein, if you would like to audio record an IEP meeting, you are allowed to do so as a parent. You just have to give the district 24 hours notice, and the district will also be allowed to audio record the meeting. So that's something to keep in mind before this IEP meeting even happens. Now, we're past the point of being invited, having everybody there, getting our documents. Now we come to the IEP itself. Who is supposed to be at this meeting with us? How many people? Is there a number? Is there certain people? Yes, there are certain people that have to be invited. Number 1, obviously the parents. You guys are the backbone to special education. You guys have the most to add. You have to be invited to this meeting. Number 2, teachers. Now, if your child is full-time general ed, they have to invite at least 1 general education teacher to your IEP. If your child is enrolled in a special day class or a special education class, they have to invite that teacher, and they still have to bring at least 1 general education teacher to your IEP meeting. You can excuse that general education teacher after the fact, but the district is legally mandated to provide you with at least 1 general education teacher, no matter the child, no matter their enrollment. Number 3, any related services providers. So speech, occupational therapy, physical therapy, counseling, any of that, if those providers have providing services, they have to be at the IEP meeting as well. And number 4, there has to be an administrator there, which is a district representative that has the authority to make decisions on the district's behalf. There has to be somebody there that can change or amend or provide new services or placements, but that somebody has the authority to do that. If you come to an IEP meeting and you say, no, this is the placement we want, and the district says, well, we don't have authority to do that today, then that meeting is not appropriate. Somebody should be there that has the authority to make those decisions at every IEP meeting. So now that we've gone over who needs to be at the IEP meeting, let's look at this document, this big document. I'm sure if you've seen them before, they can be quite lengthy. What needs to go into this IEP document? So number 1, you need to have a statement of special education classification. I'm going to list right here those classifications for you, just for reference. If more than one applies, then more than one should be at least listed somewhere in the IEP that it's been explored and that it's applicable as well. For instance, if your child has a learning disability and they want to classify your child as specific learning disabled or SLD, that's fine. But if your child also has autism and the school district says, look, they're displaying a lot of behaviors consistent with autism, that might be a secondary classification that you want to have listed on there as well. However many are applicable should be at least noted somewhere on the IEP. Number 2 is going to be the present levels of performance, or the PLOPS. Present levels of performance are exactly what they say. How is your child doing right now? What are they doing right now? Where is their level of performance right now? Now, the school district for academics can use standardized testing results in their present levels of performance, but your present levels of performance cannot only be standardized testing results. You have to have teacher reports about exactly what it is that your child's doing. That includes any areas of performance, any areas of need. So academics, behavior, again, speech, occupational therapy, motor skills, all of these things should be present levels of performance that are listed that you can read and say, okay, this is exactly where my child is. And this makes sense because this is going to inform goals, which is the next area that we're going to talk about. Appropriate goals. So your child should have a goal for every single noted area of need. That makes sense. How is the district going to work on your child's areas of need without goals? Now, those goals must be specific and they must be able to be measured or measurable. Now, what makes a goal not measurable? Well, let's say Jimmy needs a goal to count to 10. So you say Jimmy will count to 10 and that will be his goal. Well, that goal is not measurable because if Jimmy counts to 10 one time, does that mean he has internalized that skill? No, it does not. Could be an accident, could be a one-time thing over an entire year, and that does not mean that that skill is repeatable. So you need to have a way to measure that, a percentage. How many times is he supposed to do this in a row? At what percentage? So that we know that's a reliable indicator that he has internalized that skill. Along those same lines, the goal must be clear and it must be attainable. So if Jimmy has a goal to count to 10 one year and he meets that goal, his next year's goal should not be, well, he's going to do 4-digit multiplication problems. That's not attainable. And that's setting a child up for failure, and you don't want that. You want those goals to be attainable. Not too low so that they're easy to attain, but also not too high so that they're impossible to attain. Next, you want a list of accommodations and modifications to the curriculum for them, and that is everything. Anything and everything that might be appropriate for your child should be listed in this document so the teachers can simply look at it and say, oh, okay, Jimmy is supposed to have extra time on his tests, so I'm going to give him extra time. Okay, Jimmy is allowed to have 5-minute breaks, so I'm going to do that for him. Okay, Jimmy needs to have preferential seating right in front of the class, so we need to do that for him. Everything that needs to be put into the IEP that needs to be specifically listed out so the teachers can simply go through and say, okay, these are all the things that we need to do for him in order to maximize his potential here. Next up is a statement of participation with non-disabled peers. If your child is in full-time general education, it needs to state full-time general education. If your child is in full-day special day class or special education class, it needs to state that. If your child is in special day class but gets a chance to mainstream into general education, that should be clearly stated so that you can read it and say, okay, I know exactly how long Jimmy's going to be in special education and in general education every single week. Now, it might be appropriate for your child to have a transition plan, an individualized transition plan. That is for children who are 16 years of age and older. And the purpose of a transition plan is to facilitate appropriate transition for a student in high school and then moving along outside of the school age curriculum. So what we're talking about is Jimmy gets to 16, we need to start talking about what is he going to do for his adult life. That might be a high school diploma in 2 years, and then what are we going to do then? Or it might be a certificate of completion when he turns 22. How are we moving towards that goal? How are we serving this child so that they're going to be prepared to transition out of special education supports? Finally, and the most important, well, not the most important, but one of the most important parts of the IEP is a clear, discernible offer of placement and services. And this is where a lot of IEPs kind of fall flat. If you read your child's IEP and you can't automatically understand exactly what it is that the school district's offering, how they're going to deliver it, who's going to deliver it, and when they're going to deliver it, then this is not an appropriately clear and decipherable offer of placement and services. This aspect of IEPs has been litigated in federal court and has been found lacking numerous times because you cannot decipher how the district is going to offer your child these services. An example would be, okay, little Jimmy has speech issues, so we're going to offer him speech, and we're going to offer him 1,080 minutes a year of speech, and that looks okay, you know, to the naked eye, all right, he's going to get 1,080 minutes. But it leaves a ton of questions. How is this service going to be delivered? Is it going to be individual? Is it going to be a large group? Is it going to be small group? Is it going to be collaborative in the classroom? Who's going to deliver it? Speech and language pathologist? Is it going to be some sort of support from the teacher? How is this going to be delivered? Number 3, when is it going to be delivered? How often is it going to be delivered? Under this offer, the school district could technically give your child 1,080 minutes in a month and just ignore the other months of the school year, and they would still comport with this offer. So as a parent, you have absolutely no idea how they're going to appropriately deliver this service. You should be able to look and see exactly. That's why yearly offers are almost always problematic. Every single offer should be appropriately broken down into time, location, delivery provider, and delivery method so that it's clear and decipherable to whoever is reading your child's IEP. What's the action plan here? What are we going to be doing when we're looking at our IEP document? Well, before we even start, we're going to say, look, was this meeting scheduled at a mutually agreeable time and location? Number 2, like I've said before, we're going to make a written request for those documents in advance so that we can participate in the IEP meeting. Number 3, do I need a translator? Is a translator there? Is the translator appropriate so that I can participate in this IEP meeting? Number 4, make sure everyone's there that needs to be there. If you look around the room and your speech pathologist isn't there and your occupational therapist isn't there, then you need to say, look, we need to reschedule this meeting so that everybody who needs to be here is here. Let's try. Number 5, make sure that all elements that we've discussed today are present in your document. Does the school district not have present levels of performance in your document? That's a problem. They need to go back and provide those for every area of need. Do you have a dozen areas of need listed, but only 3 goals? That's a problem. You should have more goals because you have more areas of need to work on. Do you not understand your offer of placement and services? That's a problem. It needs to be modified so that you can understand it, so that anybody else that looks at it can understand it as well. Anything is not present, it needs to be there so that you, as a parent at the end of this meeting, know whether you consent to this document or if you want to disagree. If you want to say, no, I don't consent to this document, and here's why, A, B, C, D, and E. But if something's missing, then you don't know what it is that you want to consent to or disagree with. Along those lines, parents, note this. If you don't take anything else from this video, note this. You have all the power in the world when it comes to IEP documents. You can consent to it, you can dissent to it or disagree with it, and you have that power. And school districts do not have the power to make you consent to an IEP. I know that I have a lot of clients who come in and say, or call in and say, hey, the school district really is pressuring me to sign this IEP. What do I do? And I tell them all the same thing. Take your time. You wait until you are appropriately satisfied with this document, and then you sign it if you want to, or don't sign it if you don't want to. Think about it, guys. If you're out there and you're buying a car and the car salesman is pressuring you and pressuring you and pressuring you, are you just going to say, well, you know what, I'll sign it, it's fine? No, you wouldn't. You would take your time with it. You would walk away, say, I need some time with this. This is your children. Take all the time you need. Ask all the questions you need. Wait until you're appropriately satisfied, and then if you want to sign the document, sign it. But if at the end of a meeting, a district administrator slides that document over to you and says, hey, let's go ahead and consent to this, and you're not ready to do that, then you say, look, I'm not ready to do that. Let me have a couple days with it. I'm going to go over it, and then I'll get back to you about signing consent. That is your right as a parent. And again, like I said, every single video, and like I will continue to say, this is your opportunity to be a great advocate for your child. So you take all the time you need to do that. And sometimes it's not in the meeting itself. Sometimes those meetings are hectic. They're troublesome in that you're being, asked a bunch of questions, or you feel intimidated, and that's fine. It's fine to feel that way. So you take that document and you go home until you're appropriately ready to move forward with it. And then you be a great advocate for your child. You write down all your questions. You write down all your comments. If you disagree, then you disagree, and you tell them, we need to have another meeting. You owe it to your child to be that zealous advocate, to be that great advocate. So you take all the time you need. As a parent, you're the most important person in this meeting. Your okay is what is necessary in order for this meeting to move forward. So that's it, guys. That's the IEP document. Again, look for that next video that's going to talk about IEP meeting preparation and how to handle the IEP meeting. But until then, I hope you guys have a great day and that you enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a comment down below, like and subscribe to the channel. Let me know any kind of topics that you guys would like to hear, and I would love to do them for you. But until then, have a great one, and I'll see you next time.